Good morning. Today I'm going to talk to you about the issue of resilience and assets for health and development. In addition to this presentation, you have in your pack an article of mine and some additional materials. So what I'm going to do basically is three things. First, I'm going to discuss with you about what are these concepts, resilience and assets. Then I would like to explain to you why they matter in the area of public health and in the area of development, particularly equitable and sustainable development. And I would like to finish then trying to identify some capacities and skills and tools that you can use in your work in order to strengthen the resilience and assets for health and development. What are they? What do they matter? And how we can use them. So let's start with some definition. First of all, you know that both resilience and health assets are increasingly portrayed in the literature. And it is therefore very important to be clear about what do we mean by resilience and by assets when you use it in the context of public health and in general in development. Now, let's look at first at the issue of resilience. There are many definitions of resilience, but there is a general agreement that resilience is related to process and skills that influence good individual and community health outcomes in spite of negative events, serious threats, and hazards. The buzzword here that resilience is the capacity to bounce back from adversities, from crises, from external shocks, from disturbances. And what about this issue of assets? Now, health assets can be defined as any factors or resources which enhance the ability of individuals, communities, and population to maintain and sustain health and well-being. Now, resilience, actually, if you think about it, is one of these assets. Salutogenous assets could be your community, the level of solidarity that you have. Could be the quality, quantity, and distribution of social network. Could be the environment. If you have an environment that is very healthy, it's an asset. If it is very polluted, it's definitely not an asset. So basically, these are the definition that we have about resilience, the capacity to bounce back despite some adversity, and salutogenic assets. Now, there's some latest development that regards both resilience and assets. For example, it is quite clear that resilience and health assets unfold over time. So, an asset for health could be quite different if you are very young or if you are an adult. If you are an adult, perhaps your assets could be the facilities that you have in your neighborhood, the possibility to be part of an association. If you are a child, it could be having good parents. So, resilience and the health assets unfold over time. Now, there is more and more interest on system level of resilience. This is particularly due to the Sustainable Development Goals. I will speak about this later on. Another interesting aspect to share with you is that more and more different policy sectors think in terms of assets and resilience. Think about tourism. Tourism is a typical policy sector that thinks about assets all the time. And think about environment or climate change. Think about the resilience of the physical environment to deal with changes. So these are the three latest developments that I wanted to bring to your attention. Let's turn now to the issue, why do they matter? Why resilience and the salutogenic assets are important. Now, if you look at the literature, there has been a lot of interest in strengthening resilience and strengthening assets in order to cope with problems. Like, for example, the E crisis, the ecological crisis, energy, economic crisis, equity crisis. Basically here, the issue is that if we are able to strengthen individual, community and system resilience, somehow society is in a better shape to deal with this kind of crisis. But it's not just it's not just dealing with crisis. What is important is also to deal with development in a more positive way. And this is why resilience is so central to the issue of the Sustainable Development Goals. In your pack and the material that I have given to you, there is quite a lot more information about this, the central role of resilience in sustainable development. You're probably familiar with Health 2020, the WHO policy framework. Now, this framework has got 4 major priorities. One of these is actually strengthening resilience. And that's a quote from Health 2020. It's about resilience when it is applied to communities. Resilient communities respond proactively to new and adverse situations, prepare for economic, social and environmental change, and deal better with crisis and hardship. So I'm sure that in your workshop you're going to discuss how your community or your country can develop in a better way, in a more sustainable, by developing assets and by strengthening resilience. Let's now conclude this very brief video by talking about how we can use in practice both the concept of resilience and the concept of self-genic assets. Now, both concepts can be applied at individual, community, and system level. But what I would like to discuss with you, it's about how in your work, in the organization where you work, you could play a role in strengthening 4 major capacities that apply to resilience. They also apply to assets, but there's quite a lot of literature on assets, and I would like therefore focus mainly on resilience. What are these 4 capacities? Well, in the slide here they are listed. Is adaptive capacity to change or shocks or adversities, the capacity to absorb these changes, anticipatory capacity, and transformative capacity. I'm going to give example for each of these 4 capacities. Let's look at another capacity related to resilience. This is called the anticipatory capacity. This capacity is the ability to predict and reduce disturbances and risk by means of proactive action to minimize vulnerability. It's an extremely important capacity if you think about it. I would like to draw your attention to this picture here. The picture here, it's about the city of Naka, that is in Japan. As you know, in Japan, it's quite common to have an earthquake. And in this case, the city was struck by this earthquake on the 17th of March. You can see the impact of the earthquake here. But in just a week, that's the situation that you find. That means that there was quite a lot of, on one hand, absorptive capacity and anticipatory capacity to ensure that the community was resilient, ready, prepared to this kind of earthquake, and you can see that they minimize vulnerability in a very, very effective way. I'm pretty sure that you can find similar example from your own community or your own country. Let me now turn to another capacity that is called transformative capacity. I think, and I would suggest that you spend a little bit of time in your workshop to talk about which kind of skills and the opportunity you have in your community to develop transformative capacity. I have to say that this capacity applies mainly to systems. It could be the health systems, it could be a government, it could be different kind of sectors that work together for local development. So it applies mainly at that system level. It refers to the ability of systems to transform their structures and means of operating to better address change and uncertainty. Let me give you an example here. Some of your countries are now a part of the European Union. And a big change that you have to do was, for example, in the agriculture sector. You had to go from perhaps 20% of the population that work in that sector to 5, 6, 4% in a matter of a decade. So this meant that there was quite a lot of transformative capacity to rethink completely that sector in order to deal with the context of the European Union. I'm sure that you have other examples of this in your work. This is the ability to develop new systems that are more suited to the new conditions. Agriculture policy before you joined the EU and the agriculture policy when you joined the EU. This is very important when, for example, ecological, economic, technological, cultural, or demographic changes make the existing policy and practices obsolete and unattainable. Now, I know that you're going to discuss issues related to health equity, health and work policy, health and development, and I think that this capacity, transformative capacity, in addition to the other three capacities I mentioned before, are going to be extremely important for your work. Now, I hope that in this very short video, I was able to give you some idea why resilience and assets are important. I think that we need them, we need to understand what they are and to put in practice action to strengthen both resilience and assets to increase performance of the work that we do. And you might also want to look at a recent WHO publication. This is mainly focusing on the issue of small countries, countries with less than 1 million population. There are examples, very practical examples on how to strengthen resilience and utilize salutogenic assets. I also hope that this issue of strengthening resilience and maximizing assets for health and development are helpful in your work within the overall strategic direction of the Sustainable Development Goals, that, as you know, has got the slogan, leaving no one behind. I think that strengthening resilience and maximizing assets help really you to avoid failures in this field. Thank you so much.